This Sunday night at 7:30 at the Winnipeg Art Gallery's Muriel Richardson Auditorium, the Winnipeg Chamber Music Society makes its long-awaited return to the live in-person concert stage. And what better way to make a return to the stage with the exhilarating, heroic, and perfectly crafted music of Beethoven. The Hoebig-Moroz Trio will be performing two of Beethoven's piano trios. Joining me here over Zoom to chat about the WCMS's return to the stage and a concert on Sunday is David Moroz, who is the pianist for the Hoebig-Moroz Piano Trio. Hey, David. Nice to see you again.
Very happy to be here, Chris.
I first want to talk about the fact that this is a live concert. How does it feel to be back playing chamber music in front of a live audience after this COVID craziness, Michigas?
Well, I, I, I don't suppose I'll be able to really tell you exactly what it's like until we're a few minutes in. I think we have given some smaller informal concerts over the past couple of months just to get a taste of just to remind us, I guess, what things were like. But we're very much looking forward to coming back to our informal home, I guess, at the Winnipeg Art Gallery, where we've been giving concerts now for this is our 34th year, actually.
Mm-hmm. Which actually leads perfectly to my next question. Pre-pandemic, off the air, you and I were you were here in our Classic 107 studios, and we were talking about the fact that the Muriel Richardson Auditorium was going through some renovations, and the Winnipeg Chamber Music Society was having to look for other venues. I'm presuming those renovations are done. And have you been to the new updated auditorium? And if so, what's it like?
Well, I presume those renovations are done too, but I have not been to the auditorium. I'm going tomorrow to check it out again for the first time since March of last year, and looking forward to it very much. You know,
Mm-hmm. Uh, so the concert is called Beethoven 251st Anniversary Concert, which I think is great, especially because Beethoven 250 got blown away by the pandemic. Everything Beethoven wrote for the piano is so amazing. Did you feel cheated last year because of the pandemic? I mean, it's not only for you but for your students as well, right? There were so many opportunities that could have been done with Beethoven 250.
well, honestly, Chris, I don't think we need an excuse of a great big anniversary to play Beethoven ever.
Yeah.
It was a good excuse to play more, and it was tough for us that everything was shut down as it was. I think I just happened upon calling this Beethoven 251 at a particularly irreverent moment because, 250th anniversaries is fantastic. It's wonderful. 251, I think, equally fantastic.
Ah,
We did a similar thing for Mozart. Back in 2006, I guess the whole world was consumed with all Mozart's concerts, and we definitely gave some all Mozart concerts. But the year after, on Mozart's birthday, it happened to be a Sunday night, and that's when we give concerts.
ah,
And we announced it as such, you know, as an iconoclastic move to be giving a Mozart anniversary concert 1 year after the anniversary. And the audience, of course, laughed a lot, but also enjoyed the concert and was happy to hear Mozart at any time.
right, of course. So the Hoebig-Moroz Trio has been around since 1979, and it is really a family affair. You've got your wife, Gwen Hoebig, on violin, and her brother, Desmond Hoebig, on cello. I have to ask, how did this concert come about? Did Desmond sort of say, "I'm going to see my sister or my brother-in-law, and let's do a concert"? Like, how did the concert come about?
Well, we have given concerts here, the three of us, many, many times over the years. I, I think initially it came about precisely because of the anniversary, and we've played all the Beethoven trios. So we wanted to do something to note that, and we chose an early trio that is perhaps, it's very significant because it's in Beethoven's signature key of C minor. And it's a youthful work, but it presages all kinds of other pieces that are going to take place in the key of C minor by Beethoven. And of course, the Archduke Trio is his last great trio. So it's like two bookends, I think, on Beethoven's compositions in this particular genre. So, we FaceTime a lot. I mean, the three of us are always in contact about one thing or another. And when it comes time to schedule a concert, it feels like business as usual.
Just for our Classic 107 listeners, the Hoebig-Moroz Trio in 1983 took the first prize in the CBC's Radio Talent Competition. Does it feel any different now performing with the trio than it did back then?
Well, that was so long ago. And of course, it feels a little bit different because we've played some more concerts in the meantime. That was a tremendously exciting event, and it was a multi-round competition. We played lots of music. And in most competitions, everybody is aware that generally there is a concerto element. And really, the biggest and best concerto for a piano trio is Beethoven's Triple Concerto. And this was the first time that we had ever performed it. So it was a huge thrill for us. I recall, as students, it's a tough piece to get your brain around. It's not immediately decipherable, I would say, and we struggled with it as students. And I recall that we had a lesson when we were at Juilliard. We had a lesson with Desmond's teacher, whose name was Leonard Rose, a very distinguished cellist, and he made the best recording of the Beethoven Triple Concerto. It's got a huge cello part, and his recording is outstanding. And when he heard that we were going to play it, he insisted that we come play it for him. And he booked off 2 hours in his studio for us, which is 1 hour more than normal for any Juilliard teachers, and went through the whole piece. And by the end of our two-hour session with him, we were quite convinced that this was the greatest piece ever written by anybody. It was transformative for us. And of course, we went into the competition, looking forward to playing the piece in the final round. And we've played it many times since, and every single time it's a joy to play.
Yeah, and I find it interesting, the triple. Didn't he write it for Archduke Rudolph of Austria?
Well, the Archduke of the Archduke Trio that we're playing was one of Beethoven's benefactors for many, many years. One of his students too, of course. And yes, it's true. It was dedicated to him.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Archduke Rudolph of Austria, he was Beethoven's pupil. He was also a patron. There is 16 years that separate the Opus 1 number 3 piano trio and the Archduke Trio. When it comes to the piano writing, is there any difference? Like the Archduke comes from the sort of end of Beethoven's middle period, and the Opus 1 number 3 comes from the early period. Is there any difference in the piano writing between the two trios?
Well, there's a difference in writing, I think, for all the instruments. The Opus 1 trio that we're starting with, it was the first set of works that Beethoven decided he wanted to have published with his name on them. Now, it wasn't his first piece that he ever wrote, but Opus 1 it's really a significant moment in a composer's life. It's like for a writer, for instance, the publication of their first novel. It's not the first thing they've ever written, but it's the first thing that they've crafted well enough that they're confident when they present it towards the public. But Beethoven was hardly known at this point. But by the time the Archduke Trio comes around, Beethoven had written, I think, 7 of his symphonies, and he'd written many of his string quartets. He'd written so much music, and he was a confident composer. And by that point, he was the greatest living composer. So he approached the writing of music in a different way. So of course, Beethoven was a great pianist, and in the Opus 1 trio, there are a lot of things for the piano to do. It's very brilliant writing. I would say that in the Archduke Trio, perhaps the writing is more evenly distributed.
Between the three instruments.
Between the three instruments, yeah.
Of the two piano trios, the Archduke and the Opus One, is there one that is harder from an ensemble standpoint to put together, or are they about equally the same?
I think you should ask me that after we've had a few rehearsals later this week. Uh, Honestly, we're all coming to the piece with experience, with to both pieces with experience with both pieces. We have similar ideas about tempo, about balance, about who is the leading voice at which time, and it becomes a question of refinement and just reaffirming how we feel about things.
Mm,
So ensemble, I mean, it means many things, I guess. So, on the surface, it just means playing at the same time.
right.
But of course, it's far more than that. It's feeling a passage the same way, and it's balancing. It's so many things. Um, I think a lot of since we've played together for so long, we need a little bit of time just to get to know one another again. It's not as if we're three soloists who are meeting for the first time and have to make very basic decisions. But we do, we change over time, and we develop different feelings about different passages. And it's a question of sometimes it's a question of negotiation. And of course, in a piano trio, there can't be any tie votes. So,
Yeah.
so I think we'll work it out.
Uh, for me, with the Opus One number three, that final movement, it's about as C minor as you can get. It's a real barn burner of a finale to that Opus One number three. I've seen it performed a few times in public, and it always looks like the pianist is always having such a great time in that final movement. For you, do you have a favorite movement of the two piano trios, or is it all just all killer, no filler?
Yeah. I have not used that expression before about either of these pieces. Um, for sure I don't have a favorite movement. I mean, I always feel privileged just to be able to play these pieces because not everybody gets a chance. Um, I agree with what you say about the finale movement of the C minor trio. It is certainly a barn burner. Beethoven writes prestissimo as the indication. And presto means fast. Prestissimo means as fast as possible. And
Right.
I mean, Beethoven was at that time in his life playing concerts. He had not lost his hearing at all. And he was looking to make an effect. And so when he writes as fast as possible, he really means business. And there's a couple of early pieces that are marked prestissimo, and they really have to cook. For me, it reminds me a little bit of Rossini.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost a little bit frantic at times, and definitely very urgent music. Um, yeah, it's great fun to play.
um, I'm going to wrap up the conversation this way. Where can people go to find out more about the concert, and where can they go to get tickets for this Sunday's concert?
Well, we're selling tickets in a variety of ways, although our standard box office is not the place to go this time. People can, if they're comfortable with e-transfers, they can go to our website, which is wcms.mb.ca. And there's a link that they can press, and they can send an e-transfer right away.
Perfect.
If they would prefer not to do it that way and they'd like to use a credit card, they can send us an email, not necessarily with credit card information, but with their phone number, and someone will call them back and take their credit card information because that's a little bit safer, I think. So it's a little bit different this time, but I think equally efficient. And everybody who wants to, I hope that everybody who wants to come to the concert can get to the concert.
Absolutely. And for our Classic 107 listeners, of course, as always, I'll include a link to where you can pick up tickets on our website, classic107.com. David, this has just been so great to catch up. It sounds like the concert's going to be fantastic. And thanks for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thanks so much, Chris. Happy to be here.